my little band of outlaws, Outlaw Samurai, coming at you live with a video with the unboxing knife. Why do you have the unboxing knife, you may ask, Outlaw? Well, one, I know where it is from this video, and two, it's unboxing time. Now, you may be wondering, Outlaw, what did you get this time for the ever-expansive collection? Well, it's not an actual cutting sword, believe it or not. What I got this time is actually a little outside of what I'd normally buy. Normally you'd see me buy cutting swords. This time, I bought a sword entirely meant for practice. What do I mean by that? Well, me beating around the bush, it's an Iaito. So without further ado, down to Father Shorten. Da 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 da. Now, two things with this Iaito. One, I was very much bound for another sword review. And two, the reason I got this Iaito was because I want to get into steel sword sparring with Outlaw Spartan. Don't worry, I know what you're going to say, protective gear, all that stuff. We're going to have this shit planned out. But this is the Musha Musashi 1045 or 1060, one of the two, steel Iaito. It's got a dragon on the Kashira, which my dumbass forgot he had the light attached to the camera. There we go. For better lighting. They are dragon-headed Kashira with the Fushira also having a dragon motif, and this one's kind of cool because it's a flying, undulating dragon. Of course, you have the classic Musashi Tsuba. Fun fact, this is actually the first sword I've ever bought with a Musashi Tsuba. And another fun fact that many of you probably don't know, because I don't believe I've mentioned this a lot before, but the first ever sword I was going to buy actually had a double ring Musashi Tsuba, which is like the regular Musashi Tsuba, but it had 4 separate little holes all around it. But it was my first time ever ordering something offline also from Amazon. So I kind of screwed up, and that's pretty much the story how I got the crane and the orchid katanas, which were my first ever swords that I bought. I was given Sabertooth. And if you don't know what these swords are, go back to the backlog of sword content on the channel, and you'll be able to find the reviews. It's some of the first videos I ever made. Way back. All the way back before the sea times. But as we go down the outside, it has your classics Musashi, $70. This retails for about $79 on Cult of Athena, by the way. Simple, black matte, standard, Segeo knot, Shidodome on the Koigata, more than likely not glued in. It's got some sort of, I want to say Buddhist symbols here under the Iaito wrap. Speaking of Iaito wrap, very nice. I can definitely move it around, but it's off of a $70 sword, so I'm not going to be super critical. I do like, however, that they did take the time to give this some waist. Starts out wide here, then tapers out. That's a nice little design that you only really see on more higher-end katana. But, ooh, the fit-up is damn nice. I was going to say, let's move on to the pointy stabby part. Ew. Ew. Brother, ew. What's this? What's this, brother? This bitch is more oiled up than a fucking greased pig at a Filipino barbecue. For those of you who don't know, lechon is not just Mexican, it's also Filipino. Yeah, brother. Ew, what's this? What's this, brother? Even the habaki is completely slathered in this thick-ass coat of oil. Now then, if you all excuse me. Ah! Got some of you for a minute there. For those of you who don't know, an Iaito is completely blunt. It has no edge. This is definitely heavy. This is getting into the weight of warrior. Oh, they definitely made this a chunky, thick boy. Or girl, because all swords are girls. Blade is dead straight. I should probably keep this damn thing in frame. Overall, not bad. The edge is completely blunt, as you can see. Blunter than the attention span of your average kindergartner. Now, there is one thing that this Iaito has that it shouldn't have. And very astute practitioners will notice right away what I'm talking about. That being that the edge of the sword, not the edge, the tip of the sword is actually sharp. And my God, this thing is a damn arm workout on its own. They really did not take any kind of material off this. Really. Now you're probably wondering, well, Outlaw, why does it make a difference if the tip is sharp? This isn't a cutting sword. It makes a difference because 90% of the time, what Iaito are used for are two things. One, practicing techniques and or sword tricks without the fear of getting cut accidentally, because again, blade is blunt. And 2, for sparring. Yes, these are meant to spar with to a degree. Now, I know some of you are going to say, well, an Iaito is not meant for sparring. You'd need an actual sparring sword. Just a moment. I am back. Now, as I was saying, a lot of you go say, well, the Iaito are not made for sparring. They're made for practicing techniques, and you'd actually need an actual sparring blade, and yada, 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 yada. And I understand this. I really do. But here's the thing. These are cheaper than most of your professionally made sparring blades. At least if you get the Musha brand. These being cheaper than your average beginner sparring sword lets you get into the hobby easier. And if you're taking an actual class, then even if your sensei, your shifu, or your teacher, whether you practice kenjutsu, Chinese swordsmanship, or Hema, your teacher will basically be there to kind of make sure that shit doesn't go completely south. But, and there's another thing. I believe Gargoyle said this, that as well, that these can be used for sparring, or at least in his dojo that he goes to, they use them for sparring. I believe. It's been a while since I watched his last Iaito review. But that in mind, these being cheaper than your average sparring blade lets people get into the hobby of learning swordsmanship. I say lobby, I say hobby with air quotes because it's more of a lifestyle. But they let you learn swordsmanship and actually spar somewhat without having to spend an additional $100 to get the bare minimum of a good steel sparring sword, whether that be a Purple Heart Armory steel sparring katana or a fetter from any of the like 20 different brands that make them for Hema. Though anyone wondering, a fetter is that long sword looking thing that has the swell at the bottom and then becomes a really narrow blade. Also, there's a benefit to sparring with Iaito, and that is generally these are closer in weight to the Shinken or the live swords that you'd be cutting with, or historically would be using to defend yourself with. So if you're wanting to learn actual swordsmanship and spar and everything, then here you go. Now this is not a review, this is just really supplemental information. Can't really do my full normal review process because not a cutting sword. Again, the scabbard is nothing to write home about. It's your standard $70 entrance level scabbard. So, yeah. Now, I will be blunting this tip because I do want this to be a sparring blade. But, yeah, I am just amazed on the weight of this thing. Which I can actually understand with a company like Musha. They basically make blade blanks heat treat them and temper them, and then just marry them up to a bargain bin full of fittings. Okay? This blade is the same blade as you'd probably get on the regular Musashi Musha sword, just it wasn't given that final edge grind. The edge was left thick because this is an Iaito. It's made for practice and potential sparring. And they realize this is why they make the blade so thick, and probably why it's so heavy is because it's a little bit tougher to damage this in comparison to a regular sharp blade. Yeah, everything appears to be tight. Gashira is not moving. The knots aren't moving. The Iaito wrap is not moving. And wait a minute. Wait a minute. That is something I did not expect I'd ever get on a sub-$100 sword. There's real Samagawa reskin on this bitch. It's not the cheap synthetic shit. Or at least, it doesn't feel like the cheap synthetic shit. This is probably just some back-ass scrap piece of Samagawa that they glued on. But still, if they did put real ray skin on here, Musha may be upping their quality. I mean, everything's tight. There's no rattle or anything. Suba doesn't even move. Okay. Okay. So, this thing decided it was going to do a little sneaky thing and impress me without me realizing it until it's too late because I'm a dumbass and didn't realize it. Well, let's see. Ooh. Oh yeah, that's tight. That ain't going nowhere. That is definitely going to I'm either going to definitely have to do a tad bit of shaving on here, or just keep pulling this thing in and out until it eventually loosens up. That's what he said. As Uncle Roger would say, sorry children. But in any case, Musashi Iaito from Musha, or Musashi Iaito Musashi, or Musashi Iaito from Musashi. Musa and Musashi, as far as I know, same brand, different names. Musha being more of like the bare bones entry level brand for the company, and Musashi being this slightly higher end. Let me know if one of these days you want me to look into getting the I think it's one of the gold series katana that Musashi offers. See what the highest end of are like. But yeah, until next time, I know old band of outlaws, outlaw samurai tells all y'all be crazy rednecks. Be safe and use your weapons. I'm out. Peace.